Let's go further. If you zoom the liver's tissue, you will know that the tissue of the liver consists of acinuses, small islands, regions that have the same structure. The center of each acinus is the vein that collects blood. Then, from all acinuses, veins are gathered into one branch that goes to vena cava inferior. But each acinus, small piece of this pie, has 3 vessels. The first one, arteria hepatica, a branch of arteria hepatica, a branch from vena porta and the beginning of the bile tract. So, a branch from arteria hepatica delivers oxygen. So, cells that are located near this vessel receive more oxygen than cells that are located near the collective vein. This is very important because the damage and ischemic damage will process will damage first of all this region, not this one. Then another vessel, the vessel that goes from vena porta. It delivers drugs. You take food and broken red blood cells with indirect unbind bilirubin. So it gets here, and then cells that are located all way in this region. This region is filled with cells. So they get those drugs, they get food, broken down food and bilirubin, and they work with it. So the passage of flow, the direction of passage goes from peripheral to the center. On the contrary, small bile tracts that will be collected into the common bile tract have another direction, from peripheral right out of the liver. This one and this one, they will be connected, and so on, at the end into a branch of a common bile tract. So this small bile tract evacuates bile acids, cholesterol, and direct bilirubin right into the common bile tract. So the direction of flow is an artery and a vein direction from peripheral to the center, and the direction of a flow of the bile from center to the peripheral. So, in some cases, an inflammation, a damage of cells can happen. Damage means inflammation. Inflammation means edema. If edema happens, cells become bigger. The pressure inside cells and intercell tissue becomes bigger. Yes? So, if the pressure here becomes bigger, the flow from artery and from vein can be blocked. It is more difficult to supply cells with blood due to edema and increased pressure inside the acinus. what it leads to? It leads to decreasing of blood flow through vena porta. If the flow is decreased, the overstock of blood happens, and the pressure, the blood pressure inside this vein becomes bigger. If this pressure becomes bigger, that means that evacuation of blood from stomach, bowel, pancreas, spleen will become more difficult. So the organism will try to find another way how to avoid this blockade through anastomosis of stomach and esophageal, through anastomosis of bowel, and through anastomosis that were locked through the umbilical vein, belly button. This is how the portal hypertension happens. Inflammation happens here, pressure gets higher, the blood flow becomes low, the overstock of liquid blood happens, the blood pressure inside this vein gets higher, it blocks the outgoing flow from organs, they will become in edema because the excess of water goes there, and the organism tries to find another ways how to avoid this problem, how to damp, how to evacuate the excess of water, avoiding the hepatic system because it is blocked by inflammation. So, another situation. If inflammation goes on, the end of any inflammation is sclerosis. Maybe a reparation, but in many cases it is sclerosis. What do I mean? If cells were in damage, first of all, they can't work properly, so the toxic, metabolic, synthetic function of liver of those cells is decreased from one side. From another side, what happened to those cells? They become sclerotic. If they are sclerotic, they have no function. In a normal case, blood from vena porta and arteria hepatica should go through all cells like through a filter, and those cells detoxicate this blood, evacuate unneeded substances, and create substances that your organism needs. But if those cells are damaged by sclerotic tissue, the flow becomes not like through a filter, but like through a fistula. It goes directly to the branch of the vena cava inferior, directly. So, all substances that the body got from vena porta, food, drugs, microorganisms, maybe toxins, they are not metabolized, no, they were not eradicated, are not eradicated. Bilirubin is not taken off. So all this soup gets right into your systemic circulation. In normal state, it doesn't happen, but in a state of cirrhosis, cirrhotic disease of the liver, it happens. So, in cirrhotic disease, two problems we will have. First of all, a portal hypertension due to inflammation, and the second one, a shunting, a fistula, outgoing of blood without filtering, without detoxification. So the problem of the cirrhosis is to have a huge blood pressure in the vena porta, and the systemic blood circulation receives all unneeded, sometimes toxic elements that should be evacuated by the liver system, but they are not. It's a small review of a zoomed function of the liver cells.